Hello, my name is Fox, and I'm going to be showing you how to move from Blender to Unity to a VTuber model, specifically VSeeFace application. This guide is being put together because I found getting the information to move from Blender to Unity to VCFace was very obtuse in that you was not easy to find the information on YouTube or Reddit or any of the other search sites. Everything was done very piecemeal, so I didn't know what versions to download of Unity, what versions to download the add-ons, and really how to get this stuff to work together to get one coherent file at the end without everything exploding on me. This is not going to be a Blender guide. If you'd like to learn how to use Blender, I highly recommend the YouTuber Eve Sculpts. She put together an amazing I believe it's 3 or 4 video series. They're about half hour each, showing you how to go from a 2D model to a 3D model, and they are fantastic. And you can use her videos to basically build a 3D model like this. So here is my bun girl. I use the techniques shown in Eve's videos and a few other things I've learned on my own and was able to put together a 3D model. From this 3D model, I was able to apply textures, which this might look a little familiar. And then later on was able to rig. And I highly recommend splitting up your file as you get to each step in Blender, because I have had so many nightmare scenarios of Blender not saving something or something breaking during the rigging process and having to start over from scratch. So I guess that'd be the first tip, is make sure you are solid in your foundation of Blender. But once you have your model done, rigged, and set up, which again, her video shows you how to do that very good. What you're going to do is download the VRM add-on for Blender, which will allow you to export your Blender model as a VRM file. This is very important because the easiest way of doing this is to export your model as a VRM, then import it into Unity. I've watched some video guides where they export it as an FBX model and having to fight around with normalizing the model and T-posing and trying to rig everything. Not worth it. It's just easier to export this as a VRM file. Once we have our VRM file, it's very simple. Once you have the add-on installed, go to File, Export, VRM. There it is. Done. And then you have your VRM file. Now comes the fun part, Unity. So what you're going to have to do is, I cannot navigate the Unity page, so I just Googled Unity Download Archive, and it should take you to a page that looks similar to this, where it says Unity Download Archive. What we need to do is actually access the long-term support releases, LTS. And we're going to download version 2019 4.31F1. And we can scroll down there, 2019.4. Let it load. Eventually. 31F1 right here. Released September 30th, 2021. So what you're going to do is going to download that and install it and run Unity. Eventually it will install. It might take a really long time, as I think the download's like 1.5 gigs and installing it's about 4, and there's a lot of stuff. So once you get to this point, you'll create an empty project, give it a new file name here. Type in something quickly and let it load. And here we have it. Unity finally opened, again, 2019.4.31F1. Once you have your Unity running, you're going to navigate to GitHub, and you're going to download the Unity add-on called UniVRM. And you need to download a specific version. So this is what the page looks like. Once you get here, you go to the latest releases page, and you're going to go to releases, and you're going to keep scrolling all the way down, and you're going to have to find version 0.89.0. And here it is, the Unity package. Click that and download it, and you're going to install it into Unity. So here's my UniVRM package. I'm just going to double click to install, let it run. Okay. Everything is selected, everything is good, everything is new. Click import. And I'll put a link to the file, or at least the name of the file below, that you can search for it. And while that's running, we're going to go to another file. We're going to get the VCFace SDK. And you're going to download the latest version here on the right, 1.13.38. If you're watching this video later and they came out with other versions, I have no idea if they'll work, but I know this version definitely works. And here's a Uni package. Download that. And here on the VRM Unity package, is asking us to use the recommended linear. Go ahead and click that. And it's done. Go back to our downloads folder, and we're going to install the VCFace SDK package for Unity. Again, this one right here, VCFace SDK. I'll put a link in the description for it. Same thing as the other one. Import the model, import the assets, excuse me. This one might take a minute because there's a lot of things with it. And there it is. Everything's done. So we have the VRM installed to import export VRMs, and we have the VCFace SDK, which will allow us to export an avatar bundle, which will be our VTuber model. So what I like to do now from here is to create a new folder. And we're going to call this model VRM from Blender. Doesn't matter. Just I make a new folder so I know not to delete these. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag and drop from Blender, our VRM that we exported earlier. We're going to drag and drop it into this new Unity folder. Let it import. Takes a minute. And there it is. So what we do now is we're going to drag this to here. And there is our model. You can navigate with the scroll wheel. If you hold Alt and middle click, you can drag the camera up, but you might notice, oh, we have some visibility texture issues. Things aren't showing in our model. When we're in Blender, we had eyes and eyebrows and the hair wasn't transparent, but in Unity, it looks broken. Don't worry, we can correct this. So on the left-hand side here in the hierarchy, you select the drop down, and we're going to go through each of these assets here. Uh, the root folder here is the actual part of the skeleton. So we're going to go to the browse, for example. And what we're going to do is on the right hand side, we're going to change the shader because the shader doesn't work when we're exporting to VRM. So we're going to select VRM shader M-Tune. Then we're going to expand this and select the cull mode from back to front. Now we have eyebrows again. We're going to do the same thing with the teeth, the hair, the mouth, the eyes, everything. We're just going to go through if it's not rendering right. And we're going to just keep changing everything to VR-Tune, expand, front. So here's another section of hair, VR, M-Tune, front. VRM, M-Tune, front. And as we go through, you notice it's fixing everything. So let's go into something a little more complex here. The eyes. When I built the eyes in Blender, the eyes are actually made up of multiple objects which have been combined together. So we have the eye, the actual iris, the color. We have these eye whites. We have the eyelids back here, and then we have the eyelash. And these are all, each one has their own individual texture that we had made in Blender and combined together. So on this one, when we import it to Unity, each one of them actually has its own texture and shader. So we're going to have to go through and doing the same thing we did to the other ones. It's just, it's all combined into one. Front, there's the eyes. Here's the eye whites. Back to front. Eye behind, VRM. M-Tune. Back to front. Now our eyelash, VRM, M-Tune. Back, front. Okay, there we go. Our model now looks like what it did in Blender. So now we can collapse that. If we click our model here, it will bring up this basic menu here. And here we can fill in the title information, the version, as well as the author and any contact information, how this model can be used, who's allowed to use it, and all this other information. But once you get finished with that, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to VRM blend shape proxy script. And here where it says blend shapes, we're going to double click in here to bring up our blend shapes. So if you followed the tutorial in Eve's video, I believe she covers doing blend shapes, but if not, blend shapes are very easy to learn. You would have made a bunch of blend shapes in Blender. So here I have a basic blink blend shape. In the mouth, I have basic sounds, just my basic blend shapes that I worked up really fast. So what we do here is in Unity, we're going to click A, go to our model. Here's our blend shape. We call it A, and we're going to activate it, set it to 100. And we can see down here our blend shape. And we're going to do the same thing for I, do the same thing for U, and finally O. And then I have blink, so I'll add blink to it. And if you had blend shapes for joy and angry and sorrow and fun, look up, look down, all those things, you can set those blend shapes here as well. In this model, it's very simple. I don't have those blend shapes, so we're going to leave them as is, and we are basically done. So what we do now is we're going to select in the top left here our model. We're going to go to VSF SDK and export the avatar bundle. And it will save it as a VSF avatar file, which will be used for VCFace only. And we're going to click save and let it run. It will take a minute to process everything, and it will let you know when it is finished. So don't accidentally close Unity while this works. Still going. This model used a couple assets, so it has to go through all the shadings and everything else to make sure everything's set up right for this. And there it is, export complete. So now we can open our VCFace and load up our model, and there it is. Everything's working. So hopefully this has been helpful. If not, I apologize for confusing this further, but to me, this information was not easily accessible on how to move from a Blender to Unity to VCFace. So hopefully this helps.